We often fall into the trap of whispering a dangerous lie to ourselves. I'll start tomorrow. We convince our hearts that time is an infinite resource, a vast ocean that will never run dry. But this quiet habit of delay is actually a silent thief, creeping into our lives to steal our grandest ambitions. In an era dominated by the endless hum of notifications and the hypnotic pull of the screen, we are losing our most precious currency without even noticing the theft. Time is far more than the rhythmic ticking of a clock. It is the raw material from which we forge our destinies. Those who treat every second with reverence eventually stand upon the peaks of success, while those who squander it are often left to wander in the cold shadows of regret. If you are tired of watching opportunities slip through your fingers, listen closely. This isn't just a tale. It's a mirror held up to the soul. Once, in a quiet village tucked away from the world, lived a young man who was a captive of his own lethargy. He was a master of the not yet, always pushing today's burdens onto the shoulders of a future self that never arrived. His potential withered as he drifted through life, ignoring the pleas of his family and the warnings of his mentors. He felt no urgency, convinced that the world would wait for him to finally wake up. Word soon spread that a legendary sage had arrived in the village, a man whose eyes held the clarity of 1,000 lifetimes. Driven by a flicker of hidden ambition, the young man sought him out, hoping for a secret formula to catch up to his successful peers. He approached the sage in a sun-drenched park and confessed his deepest fear. "I feel as though life is moving on without me. I want to be the best, but I am stuck in the mud. Tell me how to win." The sage looked at him with a gaze that was both sharp and deeply empathetic. "You are not failing because you lack talent," the sage whispered. "You are failing because you have no respect for the present. You treat your life like a book you can read later, but the pages are burning as we speak." To illustrate his point, the sage shared a story of a benevolent king and a childhood friend who had fallen into ruin. This friend was a man who lived in a constant state of self-pity, blaming the stars and the seasons for his poverty. Taking pity on him, the king offered him an incredible deal. "Enter my royal treasury," the king commanded. "From now until the moment the sun touches the horizon, you may take as much gold, silver, and precious gems as your hands can carry. Whatever you walk out with is yours forever." The man was ecstatic. He rushed home to share the news with his wife, who urged him to run to the palace immediately. But the man hesitated. "I am famished," he insisted. "I cannot carry gold on an empty stomach." He indulged in a long, heavy meal, convinced he had hours to spare. After eating, a thick cloud of drowsiness settled over him. He told himself a 20-minute nap would sharpen his senses, so he lay down dreaming of the riches that were already his. When he finally blinked his eyes open, the shadows had grown long. Panicked, he grabbed his sacks and hurried toward the palace, but the afternoon heat was stifling. He stopped beneath the cooling shade of a great banyan tree, promising himself just 5 more minutes of rest. The breeze was a lullaby, and he drifted back into a deep, dark slumber. He woke to the sound of a heavy iron bolt sliding into place. He sprinted to the palace gates, his heart hammering against his ribs, but he arrived just as the final sliver of the sun vanished behind the hills. The treasury doors were locked. The opportunity of a lifetime had evaporated. He stood in the twilight, empty-handed and broken, not because he was unlucky, but because he was arrogant enough to think he could negotiate with time. The young man in the park sat in a heavy silence. The story had pierced through his excuses. He realized that time is a ghost. Once it passes, you can never call it back. He returned home that night and began the grueling work of rebuilding his habits. He stopped bargaining with the clock and started honoring his commitments. Slowly, the world began to reflect his new discipline. His confidence bloomed, and the respect he had lost began to return. In the reality we inhabit, time is more valuable than any mountain of gold. It is our only truly finite asset. There is a profound truth in the idea that if you honor your time, the world will honor you. But if you treat your hours like trash, they will eventually bury you. Think of the traveler who misses a life-changing train by 60 seconds. They understand the weight of a minute. Think of the student who must repeat a year of their life. They understand the weight of a season. Do not wait for a hardship to teach you this lesson. Invest your moments in your passions, your growth, and the people you love. That is the only way to live a life that feels complete. If these words reached a quiet place in your heart today, consider leaving a mark of support. Share this message with someone who is currently lost in the tomorrow trap. Join us as we continue to explore the stories that shape our character. Until we meet again, stay vigilant, stay grateful, and never stop moving toward your horizon.